All right, we're back. I'm back with Devin O'Donnell now. Looks like you guys did an awesome job covering for a few rounds there. Anything stand out to you in the rounds you missed or the rounds that I missed?
A
What do I
lot
need
of
to be filled in on?
Lilianas.
A lot of
A lot of
Lilianas. Okay.
Lilianas, a couple Shieldrids. Trying to think. We saw some Leyline binding out of the Incarnation deck that was kind of cool. But yeah, we saw some like Greasefang, Rakdos. There was a Junsack, a couple Mono Green, some Blue Eye Control. But yeah, there's some Dominator cards seem to be making an impact. But I think this round is going to feature another Dominator card. And hopefully we'll get to see that one in action.
So no Lotus Field.
No
That's
Lotus
my
Field
deck.
yet, Joe.
That's my deck. How did you not have Lotus Field on? Come on. All right, we'll get our director to look into that potentially for future rounds. Although my suspicion is there aren't any doing well. All right, round 5 underway. Vox Howland versus Ricky Life, Elves versus Phoenix, or Mono Green versus Phoenix. Is it Elves?
It is Elves. So this
Okay.
is the new Domineer card I was going to talk about. So Leaf Crown Visionary, which is the new Elf Lord from Dominaria United. And the cool thing about that is it's not only a Lord, so it helps you when you're kind of going wide and helps your beatdown plan, but it also kind of has the added bonus of whenever you cast an elf creature spell, just creature spell or elf creature spell, you pay green, draw a card. So it allows you to kind of cast an elf spell. So it allows you to kind of go churn through your deck a little bit. So it's like a beatdown card, but also provides some card advantage.
Mhm.
And this list looks very, very similar to a list that I was trying out, I think, a couple of weeks back. And I was very, very impressed with this deck list. So
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how that plays out. In the meantime, playing against Blue Red Arclight, a deck that anyone that plays the format is familiar with. Although it's, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like it's faded somewhat in the last month or since Dominaria United came out.
a little bit, yeah, and I think part of that has to do with the printing of Shieldred.
Mhm.
So the Shieldred just being such a massive, massive card against the deck that's trying to set up Treasure Cruise and Opt and all these cantrips, where it's if imagine the Rakdos player, if they can set up Thoughtseize your Lightning Axe and then slam a Shieldred, you don't have an answer to it. It's really hard for you to kind of draw out of it because
Mhm.
you're going to be taking 2 to 4 to 6 damage when you're just trying to find your Lightning Axe. So.
Yeah, Shieldred definitely is a nuisance. All right, so Ricky with Nykthos here to turbocharge things. Is that a Realm? Is it Realm Walker? Realm Waker? I can't remember the name of the specific name of the Changeling Lord that allows you to play off the top. But I think one of
Yeah,
those
Realm
hiding in the
Walker.
end. Realm Walker, okay. But Elf comes into play first. Devotion
Make
of
some green
3.
mana. And this is a Circle of Dreams Druid. So GGG 2/1, and then you can tap it to add a green mana to your mana pool for each creature. So essentially a Gaia's Cradle. Very, very powerful. Obviously, with the elf deck, you're trying to go super wide.
Mhm.
And it allows you to kind of have these like crazy combo turns where it makes a ton of mana, which allows you to then activate your the additional ability of the Lord to, we have a bunch of green mana floating, draw a bunch of extra cards. So that's kind of cool.
Right. Well, that might be a powerful card. Jaspar Sentinel, I feel like, is the opposite of powerful, but that makes it into play as well.
It's an elf.
I guess. That's about all it has going for it. I suppose it has reach, doesn't it? And so that's relevant here.
Yeah, does have
But,
reach, so if you can maybe get it a little bit bigger.
mhm.
2 Phoenixes here.
Yeah, 2 Phoenixes is nice for Vox, although I think there's more copies in hand, which is unfortunate. That's not where you want them to be.
Yeah, looks like Vox. Okay, there is a Fable, so that is another way to maybe discard these Phoenixes next turn.
Okay.
But yeah, I see Vox prioritizing the removal spell and the Druid. Just want to get a
Mhm.
little bit of pressure into play this turn to at least put those Phoenixes into play, and then can maybe find a way to dump the other Phoenix next turn.
All right. The Steel Leaf, I believe that's the 5/4 can't be difficult to block. And then here's the Realm Walker, and this is the one I'm excited about. So playing off the top, if it resolves, I think. Mm,
Yeah, and especially with all this mana from Nykthos floating,
yeah.
where you tap the 3 elves to play the champion, and then you went 3, 4, 5, 8, so we had 6 floating, and that's ooh, we're
That's
gonna see some
yeah.
fireworks here.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Okay,
So
so
if
yeah.
there's a spell on top for Ricky, we still have a ton of mana floating, so we can cast that spell and draw a card off a Visionary. So
And there is. That's a Dwayne's Elite, so that'll generate a token. Check the top card. Yeah, that's nice. You can check the top card while the spell's in the stack before deciding if you want to pay to draw.
Yeah, and I think that would have used that would have exhausted all of our mana because we tapped the 3 elves to play the champion. We Nykthos for 8, used 3 of it to play the walker, 5 floating, 2 of it to play the visionary, 3 floating, and then 2 to play the Dwynen's Elite. But did we miss? I think we missed the token from the Dwynen's Elite.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, no,
maybe
we're just waiting on a token. Okay.
Yeah, just waiting to get the correct one. So there we go. So 2 Arclights. Temporal Trespass makes things pretty close as Jaspar Sentinel is tapped. But with an actual red source in play for Vox, that means she'll have a little bit harder time casting Trespass here.
Yeah, there is a Steam Vents. We have to see if we can maybe take a look at the graveyard because there was a Treasure Cruise cast last turn, so I don't know if there's quite enough to delve for the Trespass. I think there's like maybe 5 or 6 cards.
Oh, there's 6 now, but with the red source, actually that's 1 extra, so it would be enough anyway. But not in the works. No Trespass here. Instead, Pieces looking for another Phoenix or any business. Hard to miss business in Pieces of the puzzle. If you blank on Pieces in this deck, that's a little unfortunate.
Yeah, it's kind of rough. But yeah, Pieces more fuel for the Trespass if we eventually find that. Now, did you say that Vox had a Trespass in hand already? I can't remember.
No, I was just speculating on if there was one, what it would mean. But Vox probably not in a position to be attacking here without a Trespass, as these elves are sizable and ready to rumble, I think.
Yeah, with Vox at 18, it seems like a high life total, but with 1 Lord and, if Ricky maybe finds a second Lord off of the Realm Walker, it's not going to take much for Ricky to be able to present a lethal attack here.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here's another consider from Vox, looking maybe for another Arclight to be able to get one to play. Actually, it's already in the graveyard, so now a 3rd blocker.
Yeah, definitely playing defense here. Does not want to attack into that board.
Well, a nice thing about these Arclights is they can play defense and then still attack next turn potentially.
Yeah.
If a Vox is able to survive the attack, but Ricky's got well, I mean, this is going wide with decent sized creatures, and like you were saying, yeah, another Lord would probably put this out of reach.
Yeah, as the board sits, I believe it's 11 damage.
Well,
after the 3 blockers.
There's another Lord.
So if we add 6 to that, that's what, 17? That should be lethal. I think that's just lethal. Because you see how Ricky kind of put 3 creatures off to the side, assuming that those were the biggest creatures that are going to get blocked. The rest of this is still lethal.
Well, Vox tapped out, so Ricky knows there's no surprises coming here.
Oh, this is black mana. This is a shaman. Yeah, okay. This is
we're
done.
All right,
we're
Shaman
done.
Attack's gonna go upstairs for around a dozen, and that will definitely be enough to finish that up. All right, so we have deck lists available for these players. We'll see if there's any secrets hiding in the sideboards. Devin can analyze what we can expect to see here out of Vox Howland's Izzet Phoenix deck. Okay, well, sweepers would be good. We have 1.
Get an anger.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anything else we want. So anger, probably just want the Abrades, more spot removal. Aether Gust. Aether Gust is kind of weird because there are a good amount of 3 drops in Ricky's deck, but obviously it's like, it's not going to be great against the 2-minute cards, but maybe even just being able to Aether Gust a Lord mid-combat can be good enough. So you probably want the Gust. But yeah, so like Gust, Abrade, Anger, I think is the cards.
Any consideration for Young Pyromancers to come up the ground, or is that not good enough?
I don't know. Like, you have Thing in the Ice, which I think is just a better version of that card, because it kind of just, it basically just almost like a Wrath of God of sorts as far as Thing in the Ice is concerned. So I don't know if you want more 2 drops. Maybe you have enough stuff to cut, like the Fable, the Drake are probably too slow. We can get the main next Spell Pierce out of here. So if you have enough stuff to cut, I guess I could see them being them good. But
okay, all right, and let's take a look at the Elves, Ricky Life's Golgari Elves deck.
Yeah, so Ricky's got Ricky's actually got a ton of stuff here. So we could go towards the ley lines, which obviously are good against Arclight Phoenix and Treasure Cruise and Temporal Trespass. We could go towards Shaper Sanctuary, which is a card that is exceptional against all of the red spot removal.
Right.
Past that, you could even talk yourself into Fatal Push against Thing in the Ass, but I think that's probably overboarding. So Leyline and Shaper Sanctuary, I think the cards that you're looking for the most. But it's tough because with a deck like Elves, that's very focused around all this synergy-based stuff, it's really hard to figure out what to cut, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I totally get that. You're diluting yourself, whatever it is you're doing, whether you're taking out a play set of something or just trimming here and there. But these ley lines, I mean, if Ricky brought a set of ley lines, you're obviously planning on using them somewhere. This has got to be the place. I mean, this and Greasefang really are kind of the decks that you're targeting with Ley on the Void. Is there another like mainstream deck that we're thinking about with planning for Ley on the Voids, or is that it?
It's weird because I've seen people bring this card in against mono green before. I don't think it's very good, but you could kind of try to talk yourself into it because Storm the Festival has flashback.
Sure.
So it hits that, and it also prevents Troll from coming back, and it also prevents Cavaliers from the Cavalier die trigger. So you could maybe talk yourself into it. I personally don't like it, but
yeah,
I've seen people do it before.
That seems like a stretch, but okay. I mean, I would believe that it's happened and believe that sometimes it was effective. All right, players are presenting for game 2. Let's go back to the table. See if Vox and the Arclights can do a little bit better against Ricky this game.
But yeah, as you talked about, this is definitely the matchup you signed up for Leyline for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Vox looking at quite a few land there, and no shredders in this list, so not as much filtering. I guess there are some copies of Fable, but you're suggesting that maybe that got boarded out, and Vox is going to ship it back.
Yeah, I feel like Fable's a little bit too slow from Vox's side of things. I think what Vox is trying to do is just set up a just cantrip, maybe kill a cantrip on 1, cantrip plus removal spell on 2, try to set up a Phoenix, maybe like a Pieces on 3, and then turn 4, that's like the kind of the turn where the word that I'm looking for escapes me, but like the big turn where you're like, okay, now I'm gonna kill your guy, cast a cantrip, maybe Treasure Cruise, and then here's some pressure, right? Stuff like that.
So we'll see how things go up here. So with a lack of removal in the Elves deck, we're really looking at this is a matchup where Thing in the Ice has a chance to shine, especially, wow, so Shaper Sanctuary right off the bat for Ricky Life. Let's pop that up. Some people may not know what it is, even though you did describe it. It's where when your creatures get targeted, you get to draw cards. And that's not a bad spot to be in against red removal.
Very, very powerful effect. Vox's deck has a ton of spread spot removal, Fiery Impulse, Flame Blessed Bolt, things like that. And every single time you fire off one of those against an elf, just being able to draw a card. Now, there was the one Anger of the Gods, and if that's in Vox's hand, that could be kind of devastating. Just get the clean 2 for 1, not even worry about the Shaper Sanctuary. But, we know that Vox doesn't have a ton of that anger kind of stuff. Now, Ricky doesn't necessarily know that, but...
Right. Yeah, and Ricky obviously wanting to prioritize the Shaper Sanctuary on the board, obviously with 2 elves played on turn 2, had one in play on turn 1 and chose to lead on Sanctuary anyway. And now sizing up turn 3 here with 5 mana available.
Funny enough, Ricky actually didn't have a second land when he deployed the Shaper Sanctuary. So kind of took a bit of a risk there, which I think is correct, because if you play the elf and then your elf dies, then you're kind of in the same spot. Yeah. But just took a bit of a risk and drew that Llanowar Wastes, which was just massive.
Okay.
And worth noting, Ricky kept the 7-card hand without Leyline. So, Leyline is a powerful card. It's one of those things where in this matchup specifically, I like, you think, a lot of people think about Leyline Void against Dredge, where you just, my open stuff doesn't have Leyline, mulligan. 6, no Leyline, mulligan. You just mulligan to, 3 or 4 cards just to find the Leyline. It's not necessarily that, like, this isn't quite that matchup where, yes, Leyline is good, but they can still beat you when you have a Leyline, so.
Yeah, and honestly, if Ricky draws the Leyline and casts it next turn, it's still going to be almost as good as it would have been if it was an opening hand.
Right. Yeah, especially with the graveyard only having 3 cards. So we're not even really close to a Treasure Cruise yet. So yeah, just even a hardcast Leyline at this point still be pretty good.
But we do see a hardcast Arclight here from Vox Howland coming across. Ricky down to 13 here with, kind of set up to be able to do whatever he wants with Shaper Sanctuary there too. disincentivize Vox from using removal spells. And yeah, okay, here we go.
Yep, couple clan callers start the beatdowns. What Ricky's really looking for is a Nykthos. With those clan callers having 2 pips, we would have 7 devotion here. Ricky would be able to just put his whole hand into play. But even as is, excuse me, the clan caller attack for 3 got a little bit of good amount of pressure next turn. So, and then also if Ricky does find a Nykthos, that clan caller activation ability, I believe it's 6 mana, tap it, search for another clan caller, put it onto the battlefield. So we could see something like that as well.
All right, so Vox Howland here with a 5 mana Treasure Cruise, which is not exactly what you're thinking when you plan the deck out and sculpt your strategy, but it's what's available here, leading to now the Arclight stays back on defense almost because it needs to. Vox at 15, but these elves are they're not small. They're not. I mean, elves are supposed to be in kind of magic history, magic lore. Elves are little, right? What's going on here?
Right, exactly.
These are brawlers here.
Yeah, and then Ricky's leftovers are still pretty good. Nice. I think I saw another Lord, a Shaman of the Pack, and a Realm Walker. So if we do some quick maths here, if we play the Lord and attack with everything, assuming a Clan Caller gets blocked, that's what, 3, 6, 8. So not quite enough there. If we play Shaman, that domes for 5, put Vox to 10. Lord gets blocked, that's 5, put Vox to 5. So I don't think Ricky has a way towards lethal here, but you can imagine with Vox casting a 5 mana Treasure Cruise last turn, they probably don't have a lot going on. So
right. Yeah, and it's unlikely. I mean, it's almost impossible that Vox would be taking an extra turn next turn. So Ricky's not going to die. I mean, at 12, I guess you could die to quad Arclights. I mean, that's conceivable. But yeah, here's a big attack. Arclight's going to block. Trade off.
Yep. 8, put Vox to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, normally you don't want to trade a Lord for a Phoenix, but because Ricky is so far ahead, he just doesn't care.
All right, so Vox is going to be looking for a lot of help here from the deck. Planning.
Yeah.
Even 3 Arclights is
in
great.
3 Phoenixes. Yeah, I was just going to say that.
One, right? I don't think you can take 0 cards on planning.
Is it up to?
I don't know. I think you have to take a card, but I'm not sure about that.
Oh, yeah, chat's correcting me. It's 11. My bad. Because the elves were... Yeah, okay. I gotcha. 3 Lords. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep.
All right. Consider still looking for help. Well, I haven't found any additional Arclights yet. The Lightning Axe. Not going to get the job done here.
And even the red removal is still kind of sketchy, right? In the face of that Shaper Sanctuary. It's just... Right. It's all kind of rough for Vox here.
Yeah. So Lightning Axe played anyway here. Card drawn, but it has to be done in order to get the Phoenix out. This at least allows some hope, maybe, for Vox, even though we can see Shaman of the Pack is going to... There's Collect the Company the draw, but Shaman's the play. Yeah. 4 coming across.
That should do it. I think.
Is there others in Aether Gust? I think.
Okay. Gust the Shaman. Maybe by a turn. I would like to mention there are over 800 of you in the chat. If you're welcome, I hope you guys are having an excellent time hanging out with the coverage. If you're not following the stream, be sure to hit that follow button. NRG is doing some great work for the coverage scene, and really hope you all having a good time.
Well said. All right, Shaman of the Pack on top of the deck now, and yeah, this is still. What's the base on the Lord there? Is that a 1/1 naturally or a 2/2?
1/1.
Okay, so it is not lethal. All right, so trade with an elf. Go to 1.
Go to 1.
Okay.
Well, the one thing that you had alluded to last turn was there's not enough cards for a time walk. Well, now there probably is. Mm-hmm. But now that Vox had a couple of enablers. So realistically, there still could be a chance here. You see, okay, well, if we're starting with Thing of the Ice, probably not, but...
All right. We need 4 spells. We have 4 mana. It's possible. Here's the correct Treasure Cruise for 1 mana.
Okay, that's a good start. Can never go wrong with starting with Ancestral Recall.
Yeah. Well, maybe this
leftovers are just 2 more cruises, though. Yeah, that's kind of rough.
Okay. Ricky Life will pick up this match and advance to 5-0. So, all right, Phoenix. Yeah, I mean the Elves deck just got out, too fast, too wide, and without the Singleton Anger of the Gods, it's hard to. There's not really a route to keep it controlling the board there.
Right, and the Shaper Sanctuary just put so much pressure on Vox that game. Like, if you look at Vox's opening hand, I think they had, a Fiery Impulse, a Flame Blast Bolt, maybe a Lightning Axe as well. And it's just that the Shaper Sanctuary making it, not that the cards are useless, but you're just so disincentivized to cast those cards when they're effectively not trading at all. You're going to be down a card in every one of those exchanges. So the way that you kind of mitigate that is racing, but the Phoenix deck isn't that great at racing. So
yeah. Okay, well, it sounds like we're gonna have an interview coming up in a few minutes. But before we get that set up, so Devin, I haven't talked to you in about a month now since our last event. So my deck, it's not really a secret. My deck is Lotus Field and in Pioneer. If I had an event today, that's what I'd be playing. I have a qualifier next weekend I can play in. That's what I'm gonna run. What are you rolling? I know you really play the breadth of the format on your stream to cover the field. What is your chosen deck now?
So I think of the 7 Pioneer RCQs, I think I played 6 different decks. So
Wow.
I've been playing a lot of different stuff, just kind of trying to get a feel, and it's really just trying to pick the right deck for the weekend. I think the deck that I played in the last RCQ yesterday was Rakdos Midrange, which I still think is one of the best decks in the format, and also a deck that rewards like knowledge of the matchups, knowledge of the format, picking the right sideboard cards for the weekend. It's one of those decks that can, you can get very small edges just by 1 or 2 cards. So I think I'm leaning towards the Rakdos midrange deck, but yeah, that and I think Greasefang are probably my top 2 choices.
Yeah, I mean those are very good decks. I mean there's probably how many decks are in tier 1 of Pioneer right now? We could say those 2 maybe. We could say I don't think right. We say green obviously might actually be the top deck. I see in looking at the results online, blue white consistently puts up numbers. It's not a deck I would be wild about playing with. I did try. I played a couple leagues with it. I wasn't enthusiastic, although I liked some of the cards. But yeah, I think it's kind of just those few, right? And then we have a number of different tribal decks. Humans, elves, apparently, maybe goblins. I played a few times. So I like the format. Is sure there's a top tier, but there's a lot of viable decks in this format.
Oh yeah. This format's awesome. Dominator United has been such a huge boon for it. So
yeah,
love this format.
Okay, Ricky is ready to go. So let's bring him in and let's talk about these elves. So you're 5-0 with elves. What's coming in? I mean, this is not the tier 1 deck of the format as we were just discussing. But working. You can't hear us? Okay, well, see if we can get that straightened out.
Trying to get some sound.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Hey, what's up?
Okay,
there we
go.
How
you doing? So, elves. Not exactly a tier 1 deck in the format. You showed up today. You're 5-0. Like, tell us, what went into the decision to play the deck?
Well, I'm a tier 1 player, first off. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't played Magic since that RCQ like 2 months ago, and that was modern. And I had no idea what I wanted to play, and then I chose to do like a proactive dope deck. Sorry, I'm trying not to swear.
Well, sounds like it's working out so far. What impact? Well, so you said you haven't even been playing. So the Dominaria United cards, the new Lord, has obviously amped the power level of the deck. What stands out to you? What's consistently pushing your matches over the edge? What are you winning because of? Is it Shaman of the Pack? Is it the Lords?
Man,
is it Collecting Company?
So the redundancy of the deck is wild. So if the floor of this deck is just straight up just gas, kill you. It's awesome. And that's really all it is. So all the Lords are really good. You know what has been really good is Sea Leaf Champion. There's so many 2 power, crappy little creatures in the format, and it might as well say unblockable. That thing is wild.
Yeah, I had I played quite a bit with the elf deck a couple of weeks back on stream, and I really noticed that, as you said, just the ability to have the ability to go wide with 8 copies of Lords, but it also just has a ton of built-in card advantage with Collect a Company, the new Lord drawing cards, Realm Walker. So it just has it kind of has everything that you could ask for in an aggressive deck, and I'm super impressed with it, and not surprised to see you being 5-0 at this event. So
yeah, man, Company is such a wild card. I thought when Pioneer came out, like company decks are gonna be all over the place. Turns out it's like, I don't know, like creatures aren't that good, but it turns out if you have a bunch of crappy ones, you put them together, and then they like, make each other happy, and then it's great and it's beautiful, and it works out. So Shaman of the Pack's wild too. That card's wild.
So you're 5-0. What is there something
10-0.
that are you something you're hoping to face, or something you're a deck in the format you're kind of afraid of with your deck? Like, what's your feeling? What are you hoping to get paired against?
Dude, I have no idea. Okay, so I think I'm good against mono green. Again, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just killing people.
Yeah, you okay. Well, I mean, you're 5-0. I mean, potentially able to double draw into top 8. So maybe we'll see you tonight. But
Oh yeah.
awesome effort so far, man. It sounds like you're enjoying the deck.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm having a blast. It's
Good.
really, really nice going into one of these tournaments. A lot of people like kind of are over analytical and they're trying to like optimize everything. And sometimes it's really good to like sit back and just play a fun deck and just let it take you to the top.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it's working, dude. All right. Well, good luck the rest of the way, whether you decide to play or draw the next couple rounds. And yeah, I think we'll probably see you this evening.
Yeah. All right. Bet on it.
Ricky Life with Golgari Elves crushing.
I think Ricky mentioned he was also 10-0, so 5-0, 10-0. Hasn't dropped the game yet. I think I heard him say that. So
Wow. Well, that's good stuff. 10-0 games. Okay. Devin O'Donnell, if there was going to be a 10-0 in games deck today, would you have predicted it to be Elves?
No, but that was like, so I was going through the deck list this morning before the event started, and that was one thing that it's a deck that I think is pretty slept on right now. I do think it's a really good deck because I think it boasts a pretty decent matchup against mono green. You can kind of effectively race them. And then as we talked about, the Rakdos matchup is like, you would normally think that Rakdos mid-range versus a tribal deck is not great for you, but with all the card advantage, you have Coco, you have Visionary drawing cards, Realm Walker, and then the Shaper Sanctuary post board is a massive problem for them, even more so than Phoenix. So I think if you can like find a deck that's good against both of the top two decks, which I think Elves potentially is, then you're in a good spot.
Yeah. Okay, we've got the backup match ready to go. That timed out well, so let's go ahead and roll it. Round 5, match number 2. Matthew Ruck versus Joseph Pio. Mono black combo. Well, I see Godless Shrine there, so what do you think? Is this Grease Fang?
Mono black combo. I think
I don't know. I don't know about this.
Oh, okay. We probably just have them swapped. Yeah, we have them swapped.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right. I was only looking at the right side of the board. Yeah. Okay. So this is definitely Grease Fang on the right.
Yeah, Grease Fang on the right. So mono black combo. Now, what does combo entail, you might ask? Well, I have the deck list up here.
Wow.
So it is mono black devotion. Now, there's cool stuff going on here. I don't know if you want to spoil it for Chad, or maybe we can let the games play out.
Well, they can see. Oh, they're going to see a lot of it right now. On this collective brutality. So you can see here. Yeah, there's Grey Merchant and Shieldred and Murder Strider. That all makes sense if you're playing devotion. And there's Peer to the Abyss, which is maybe a bit of an outlier. So now we've got that exposed, Devin, why don't you explain what the actual combo is here for the chat?
So the idea, obviously, is you're trying to set up some devotion. So you can do that with Liliana, Gifted Aetherborn, Murderous Rider. We have a card in this deck called Underworld Dreams, which is a card from way back in the day that got reprinted. I can't remember what set it got reprinted in, but it's whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose a life. I think that's the exact text on it. But the important part about Underworld Dreams is it's also triple black. So as you're trying to set up a bunch of devotion, and you're trying to set up Shieldred plus Peer into the Abyss. Now, Shieldred says when your opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. Peer into the Abyss says target player draws half of their deck and loses half of their life. So you can imagine if you make your opponent draw 30 cards with Peer into the Abyss, they're probably going to lose the game to that Shieldred.
Yeah, Shieldred or Underworld Dreams, either way. Peer to the Abyss combos with both cards. And yeah, I don't know that that's necessarily mana efficient, but it's working here at 3-1 facing down Grease Fang, which is another combo-ish deck that's a little cheaper to assemble. However, it is vulnerable to some removal. You see Murderous Rider here. And Evolved Sleeper on the board. The new Figure of Destiny type card that's actually, I think, fairly impressive.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit in this deck too, because you tend to have spots where your deck is a little slow at the gates, and a lot of these permanents like Underworld Dreams, yeah, it adds a lot of devotion, but it doesn't do anything
Mhm.
unless you're setting up the combo. And Sleeper is a way to kind of put a little bit of devotion into play. It's also a way to pressure planeswalkers, which can be pretty important. And also, it's just a good mana sink. If you have a lot
Yeah.
of extra of a mana and nothing, no threat, then there you go, just draw a couple cards.
All right.
Well, now we're
Yeah.
probably done.
Yeah. So someone in the chat pointing out that with just Parhelion in the graveyard, perhaps that Murderous Rider was played a little too early, and the Parhelion should have been bounced to hand before attacking. That's actually possible. If that's the only
Oh.
vehicle in the graveyard, yeah, that might have saved Joseph some trouble here.
Okay. Well, there was the Rafine's informant, so maybe it didn't matter
Yeah, that's true.
because Matt would have still had a way to put it into the graveyard.
Mhm.
But I think
All
it
right.
still would have prevented him from doing it this turn, right? Because if you let the Parhelion trigger go in the stack, or the Greasefang trigger go in the stack, kill the Greasefang, Parhelion goes to hand, and then you can go 2 mana. Yeah, because you go 2 mana Rafine's informant, but then you don't have mana to play the Greasefang that turn. So
Right. Okay, so maybe that could have been navigated a little more cleanly, but still, the Greasefang deck is fast and powerful, and I've seen over time the number of discard spells in these decks have been growing. I'm interested to see how many are here with the deck list ready to go. But it started out, I feel like a month ago or whenever, like 4, and now I've seen 6. I've seen main deck Duresses go alongside the Thoughtseize, which I mean is kind of brutal. So kind of cutting some of the maybe the less effective fringe cards and just focusing on what matters.
yeah,
Which
Liliana too is we talked. Me and Anna talked about just a massive printing for this deck. Not only as another discard outlet for Parhelion, but also this deck has the ability to play that kind of mid-range type of game, and it's really good in that type of game as well.
All right, so here is the mono black combo devotion deck in all its glory. Murderous Riders, Gifted Etherborns, like you said, Evolved Sleepers, Shieldred, Grey Merchant, all kinds of pips all over the place. Is there, aside from the Sleeper, which only costs 1, nothing in here doesn't have 2 devotion or more? Oh, I guess Warlock
The
class.
Warlock class,
Yeah,
the
sure.
Warlock class, which is another card you don't see too often, but
Right.
I like that card quite a bit, just like a way to hit land drops and stuff. As far as sideboard cards go in this matchup, there is a lot here for Joseph. We have 4 Leyline of the Void, 3 Go Blank. Those are all slam dunks. And then you could also talk yourself into Noxious Grasp as a way to kill Greasefang.
Mhm.
So there is a lot to like here for Joseph. Now, that being said, I don't really know how much of the combo he wants to keep in his deck. That's more for the longer kind of dragged out games where you might not be doing that as much here. So maybe he wants to trim on some of that stuff. Also, Liliana is kind of not that great against an opposing deck that has Parhelion that they want to discard anyway. So might want to cut those. But yeah, a lot of stuff to like here for Joseph.
Okay, let's go ahead and switch over to the other deck list. Matthew Rux, Abzan, Greasefang. So we can see here, yeah, no Stitcher Suppliers. Those have kind of been trimmed out of these decks, which I'm happy to see because that felt like a kind of a ineffectual card. And we see a mix of vehicles here. We've got actually 9. That's another change, I believe, compared to earlier in the format where I feel like we saw a lot of 6 vehicle Greasefang decks. And now we're seeing 9, and that's just going to add to the consistency and really the overall power.
Right, and the other thing I want to point out here for Matthew's deck, no Lilianas. So choosing to go with 4 copies of Collective Brutality, that's usually the slot where Liliana has kind of occupied in the newer list. Interesting. It is the cool thing about Brutality is it's another 2-mana enabler, whereas the issue with Liliana is you can't play it until turn 3, which is set up for turn 4, but you want to play as many ways to combo on turn 3 as you can because of the speed of the format. So definitely an interesting thing to note here. So as far as Matthew's sideboard cards, now Portable Hole, definitely not something he wants access to. Hearst, not really. The one thing I will note, there's not a lot of answers to Leyline of the Void. Usually we see, well, I guess, typically we see sometimes like Assassin's Trophy, but there's one Boseiju with one in the main, and then that's pretty much it. We might be going towards like Graveyard Trespass or Pelucranos for additional threats. But yeah, not a lot of anti-Liliana or Leyline cards.
Okay, well, let's roll game 2 and see if that ends up punishing Matthew here. Does Joseph have a Leyline? And Leyline is so great. I mean, sure, it's Graveyard Hate, and it also counts as Devotion. It just does a lot of what you want for Joseph here. Mulligan for
Chat
Matthew.
did bring up
and-
a good point. There was
Okay.
a Rotting Regisaur
Mhm.
in, I believe that Matthew had game 1, but it wasn't on the deck list. So I know this is a time shifted match, so I don't really think there's a lot we can do with that regard. But maybe it was just, I'm not sure exactly what that.
Okay,
that's
well, I
about.
do remember seeing the Rotting Regisaur. I don't know that I would put that
Yeah.
together, but you're correct about that. So, well, maybe that can be looked at later on. I'm sure the director can pass that along to the judge staff and see that sorted out. In the meantime, Thoughtseize does take Collective Brutality here to open up game number 2 for Joseph. Matthew down a card, but not facing a ley line. He'll probably take that exchange.
Yeah, not the best hand to see when you cast Thoughtseize. 2 lands, 2 brutalities, 2 Grease Fangs. It's like, yeah, I don't take whatever you want. I don't care.
But Joseph should have some time here, and really time is what his deck's going to need just to assemble Devotion on the board. His various cards. There's a Go Blank drawn. That's nice. And another Thoughtseize.
Please don't ask me what that land is. I have no idea. It's a promo. I know that.
For Matthew, yeah, dude. I would never. I'm not going to put somebody on the spot for identifying weird artworks. For one thing, I would never.
It came into play tapped.
Yeah.
So
okay.
at least we can infer that. Chat'll probably get us.
Go Blank to take half of the remainder of Matthew's hand here. I imagine one Grease Fang is going to go.
Oh, it's the slow land. Okay, that's why I came into play tapped. That makes sense.
Matthew reading Warlock class. Why don't we bring that up on the screen? This is actually, I don't know if we can do that in a time shifted match. But Warlock class, chapter 2 is a strategic planning. Oh, there we go. So chapter 2 is a strategic planning. And then level 2, level 3 is kind of a very expensive taxing effect for the long game. You can see there, beginning of your end step, they lose life equal to how much life they lost this turn. So that includes combat damage. So all your stuff basically has double damage if it goes to the player. But I think that's kind of just there's a bonus. It's there for the anticipate effect, right?
Well, yes, but also we did call this mono black combo, and if you have a Warlock class on chapter 3 and you target your opponent, it's lethal damage no matter what their life total's at.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably mostly flavor text, but the fact that is kind of another combo piece is pretty sweet here.
Yeah. Okay, Rafine's Informant here for Matthew to at least get something positive going. And all right.
There it is.
Yep, there it is. Now, here, unlike a lot of matchups, I suppose life gain actually could matter if Matthew gets things going. Actually, if Joseph is able to survive an extra hit from a Parpelion or something like that. But Rafine's Informants, there's not a ton of card drawing in Matthew's deck, but there's some.
Right. Yeah. Rafine's Informant is one, and that's the card that Matthew's casting here. The one thing that is, as you talked about, just like being able to kind of gain a little bit of life to maybe try to survive a Parhelion head, because Parhelion is kind of capped at how much damage it can really deal with the attacks. I think I saw we got another Warlock class. Can't really see what else we got.
The Murderous Rider was the other card.
Yeah. Okay. So Warlock class, maybe activate, try to find some more action here. That's what we're gonna do.
All right, so this Nykthos is going to tap for 4.
4. We get to activate both classes. That's kind of cool. Good turn.
Yeah. Did we miss out a little bit here? If we attack with Shieldred, if there's a double block, we have Murderous Rider. If it's not, just gets through. It's certainly possible. I guess I don't really know whether Joseph wants to be trading damage here or not.
Well, the awkward part about using the Murderous Rider, well, I guess that's the awkward part either way if you're going to tap out. But like, it's tough. With the Chariot in the graveyard, it's like you almost would want to maybe try to just hold up the Murderous Rider there.
I would have agreed with you, except that if the plan was to play the Warlock class and activate, then clearly that wasn't something on Joseph's mind anyway. Here's an attack.
Oh, yeah. Well, so the problem with that is if you attack first and the double block happens, you don't have enough devotion post combat to activate both classes. Right.
Yeah.
Because you lose the devotion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Brutality. We're trading Brutality plus Informant for the Shield Robe, which is not too bad, just to get it off the battlefield. And notably, that cuts the devotion off for the Nykthos, so it kind of limits what Joseph can really do with this turn.
Yeah, that Nykthos is now just a colorless land. Meathook Massacre in hand. And there it is.
Yeah, Meathook for 2. So this will clean up the Informant, get a little bit more devotion for Joseph for next turn. Get a little trigger there.
Yeah.
And there is still that Chariot in the graveyard, so if Matthew does find a Greasefang, there is something to kind of hop in the car there. Looks like
salvage, but that's so salvage. Do you play it now? Do you wait till the end step? Decision is to play it now for Matthew. There's that
Regisaur again.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look too bad here. I think it's just a fine card. It's pretty big.
Yes, indeed it is. We are, let's see, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess we're actually close to level 3 on these Warlock classes.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's a card type that I haven't played a ton with. So with the classes, if you level up the Chapter 2, you don't get the Chapter 1 effects anymore, right? I think that's how that works.
No, I think you get...
Do you still get it all?
Okay,
it's a card type that I really haven't played that much with.
I think on these, I think it's well, I'm not sure. I was thinking it was a static effect, but that may not be correct.
Okay, chat's saying you get it all. Okay.
Yeah, it's like on Urza Saga. You still can tap for mana on the later chapters. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So there is Underworld Dreams. So every time Matthew draws a card, he will take a point.
He's still looking for a Greasefang, which appears to not be showing up here.
No,
but yeah, Underworld Dreams, probably a card that a lot of people in chat have not seen before. So there it is on your screen.
So yeah, and it's gonna be difficult to find I think we lost 2 Greasefangs already in the early game discard stuff. So it may be difficult for Matthew to get this going.
Yeah, and if Joseph has a Pier, then we're done. That's it.
That's true. Yeah, devotion is now substantial.
Oh, there's a lot of mana.
There it is.
Oh, there's the combo.
Matthew's like, what?
Excuse me?
Is either of these cards playable? What are you doing?
Let's go. Oh, that was hilarious.
This is where Matthew afterwards is telling his friends, you lose one match and you get into the loser bracket, and then you run into this. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the deck list again, see if we can spot this Riding Regisaur. Maybe it's actually there. Maybe chat was wrong. Joseph Pio's deck list may have a flaw.
Underworld Dreams, man. Underworld Dreams.
Yeah.
Didn't think I'd see that on coverage today.
I mean, when I was a kid, I thought that was an exciting card, but all right, let's take a look here.
I see a Tassiger. There's 4 Brutality. 3 Thoughts, 4 Thoughtseize. Yeah, I don't see the Regisaur.
Okay. All right. Well, so that answers that. So we can go back. Let's go ahead and get game 3 started. So potentially there's a transcription error, but maybe Joseph was planning on playing Riding Regisaur and perhaps switched for Tassiger and forgot to change the deck list. We don't know. That'll get sorted out at a later point. In the meantime, back to game 3 of round 5. And Matthew Ruck, well, he's got a match on his hands now.
Yeah, thought it was, his opponent was over here casting Warlock classes, and he's like, oh, so, they just gave us the free win today. But then, nope. Underworld Dreams. So we see a couple of sideboard cards here. We got the Go Blank and the Noxious Grasp. So both those are pretty good. And a Rider. So we got quite a few answers to an early Greasefang. The issue is we don't have a ton of lands, and we don't have a Nykthos yet. But we have the Warlock class to potentially hit land drops, which I assume is, what we're going to go towards here.
Yeah, this is a mana-hungry deck here for Joseph. So, I mean, he's consulting his hand here. That's not a good sign already. I feel like if it's, which spell do I keep? That means there isn't a land.
Right.
And showing, okay, there's the combo.
Combo in the graveyard. I think he took a Thoughtseize. Yeah, it looks like he picked up a Thoughtseize off the class. But yeah, no land is going to be rough here. And this is kind of the dream start for Matthew. Got, Thoughtseize into Enabler. Did miss on Greasefang, or excuse me, missed on Parhelion, so nothing there.
All right. Well, Thoughtseize reveals. So both players playing with open information here. We've got Rafine's Informant, double Collective Brutality. That was a Witherbloom
Interesting.
command. And is that last card in Asika's Chariot?
Yeah, he's choosing to go for the command instead of the chariot, maybe just like hoping that Matthew bricks on land. I guess the other awkward part is if you take the chariot and then Matt rips a Greasefang, then it's even worse for you. So maybe you're just like okay with the chariot being the play next turn and feel like you can maybe erase that.
Yeah, well, if there's not an untapped land, then I guess Joseph's actually going to dodge that as well. Here's the land, but a little too late. The Brutality and, well, there's no land to take, which is what Joseph needs.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the go blank, which makes sense because I think Matthew only has 2 cards left over. So definitely want to take that. Okay, there's land 3 from Joseph, but his best 3-mana play is now taken with the Brutality, so it doesn't really have anything too good to do there. I'm going to level up, looking for some more lands here.
So one drawback of the Warlock class as your card filtering is that it is something you have to main phase. You can't hold up your Murderous Rider mana and then go towards the end step. That has to be committed here. So he's going to be vulnerable.
Right, yeah. That's Sorcery Speed being super, super awkward, especially in a matchup like this where you're just trying to hold up the stuff. But, knowing the contents of Matthew's hand, it's you take a little bit of risk there. So there's the Chariot that we suspected was going to be cast. Good for some tokens. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough for Joseph. On 3 lands, doesn't really have a clean answer to the Chariot right now. I mean, the card he's looking for is most likely... Meathook Massacre, but we're not only we're a mana and a massacre away from actually having the Meathook Massacre. So
yeah, all right, leyline drawn there. That's not going to do any good right now. There is, I believe, the Murderous Rider in hand, so Chariot can be picked off. Well, never mind that. Oh no, I guess that's true. You can't take Murderous Rider here, can you? So
no, it has to be the grasp. Yeah. So you do still get to Rider the Chariot. I wonder if Matt just says, "Yeah, I'm not going to crew. I'm just going to attack you with all my creatures." Probably will.
I wondered about that too. So this is an attack for 7, which is half of Joseph's life total. Nope. Okay, there's the crewing. Draws out the Rider. So this does cost Matthew a turn off the clock.
Yeah, I kind of like this, just the attack with everything.
Yeah. And then
like, what's Joseph going to do? Just take 7? You can't really afford to take 7.
And now the Murderous Rider can just be dropped into play, and we know Joseph doesn't have much else to do, and that's an effective blocker here. It looks like he passed again.
That should, the Greasefang should probably do it. Take the Greasefang, get back the Chariot. Chariot has haste. And Joseph's sitting there with 2 ley lines. Not really where you want those to be.
With Joseph passing here, I assume there's some kind of interaction he's got. Murderous Rider only costs 3 to cast, I believe.
Yeah, it's 3.
Yeah. So let's see. I mean, maybe Joseph trying to just represent having something else, but no. Okay, that's it. Matthew Ruck is able to take down the mono black combo deck in the hands of Joseph Pio. So that's, I mean, it's too bad. I mean, obviously unbiased here on who wins, but it's nice to see kind of the more fringy decks win once in a while. Joseph Pio falls at 2-3 and 2. Matthew advances 2.
At least we got to see the combo that one round.
Yeah, that was satisfying. That was cool. I'm sure Matthew Ruck wasn't as thrilled as we were, but we did see it fire off there. All right, so round 5 out of 7 in the books. When we come back, we'll go over the Season 2 leaderboard, updated after yesterday's event, to see who's actually in the running for these 2 slots. But Devin, I think as your time today ended, are you out of here now? All right, well, I hope you enjoyed your time with Onrog, and I hope I was up to his standards a little bit. Did you have a good time? I think you always do, right?
Yeah. Today was awesome. This has been a blast, just seeing all the new Dominaria United cards in Pioneer, and it's been an absolute blast. So thanks again for having me. I can't wait to do it again next month, and make sure to follow the stream.
Definitely, yeah. And at Doomwake, you see it on below his name there.
Well, I was talking about follow this stream. If you want to go to my stream, you
can. No, they absolutely should follow your stream too. So we've got Season 2 DreamHack qualifiers starting next week. Is that something you're still going to be heading out for those?
Well, I'm going to Atlanta. I'm not qualified, but I'm going to play LCQs in Atlanta.
Right.
But yeah, as far as Season 2, I don't know. I'll have to think about it a little bit. This season was kind of a bit of a grind. I don't know if I want to maybe take a little bit of time off, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure your fans would like to see you out there. All right. Devin O'Donnell, Doomwake in Atlanta on the RCQ path on stream, wherever you guys can find him. He's bringing the content. Thanks for being here. This is Nerd Rage Gaming. We'll be back.